Okay, now we just went through the last chapter, chapter 7 dealt with health promotion. Now, one of the key things that you have to be in with health promotion is people first of all have to start with health education. They have to know what are the health issues. You see, you define what are some of the health issues, the health education. What are the causes of these diseases? What are ways in which these diseases can be prevented? And with a good dose of healthy public policies. See, an easy equation. Health promotion is equal to health education multiplied by healthy public health policies. See, because when you are talking about health promotion, we are talking about the health of the population. Health education is the individual, mainly. Health promotion is the individual plus the public. And to get the public involved, you have to have public policies. Because some people on their own will not do things even to benefit their own health. There has to be public policies to make sure that if you don't do it, there are certain penalties to pay. Or also public policies to make sure that just telling people don't do this, don't do that is not enough. There has to be the resources. So the public health policies are also there to help with the necessary resources that are needed. Because it's not everybody on their own can be able to take care of some of their basic health needs. Especially for the unemployed, the poor, the minority, and the underserved populations. They have to do with what they have within their environment. And most of the time, those situations or those amenities within their environment will not enhance their health. So there is need for a healthy public policy wherein the community comes in and says, okay, we have seen your challenges, your health challenges. We are going to do what we can do through community resources to address those challenges. At times, it could be community resources, it could be federal resources. It depends on the magnitude of the challenge. And if we provide some of those challenges and this, or we provide those needed resources, now, again, it goes back to the individual. So making sure that they engage in a healthy lifestyle. And say, for instance, smoking. Health education tells people about the sad bad effect of smoking. Well, it's a behavior, it's an individual behavior. Somebody can decide to smoke or not smoke, even if they have all this information. But because of the added information that the public health has, or health education also provide, that when people smoke, there is a second-hand effect. People who are close by, who are inhaling the smoke, they will also be impacted negatively by the second hand. Therefore, healthy public policies are made that, okay, we are not infringing on your right, because that's the First Amendment right is big on everything. Even things like can get people, get individuals killed, but they are so big on it. It's my right, it's my right. So you can smoke in certain designated areas. You cannot smoke in public buildings. You have to get out to smoke. We don't know what you do in your home, but when you are in public, you don't do it in public buildings, say in the workplace, so that your behavior does not impact the health of the other person. That's why we need these public health policies, because the public health policies can provide resources to help address the problem and also provide legal resources to help address the problem. See, when the legal resources fail, then when just the resources are provided, people still fail to adapt a healthy behavior, then there comes the legal component. Because your behavior should not impact another person's health. Okay, now we come to chapter 8, individual characteristics and health. How you as a person, from your biological endowment, what you inherit, your personality, your gender, and at times all those other things that just makes you, makes you the unique person that you are. Because even though we are all human beings, but we have certain unique characteristics. And at times, some of those characteristics are inherited. And to maintain your health, you have to monitor those characteristics. Say, for instance, if there's diabetes in the family, you have to make sure that you monitor your blood, your sugar level, your weight, what you eat, because the probability for you to develop those things are high. So these are all things that are advisable that you take care of. Your gender, you don't have control over it. You're either a male or a female, and there are certain challenges between being a male or a female when it comes to maintaining your health. So the aim is to explore different influences on health at an individual level, to critique some of the key factors influencing health at an individual level, drawing on current theory, research, and debate. See, because most of what we'll be talking about here will be dependent on what we already know, what research has shown us in terms of what we can inherit or gender. And based on some of those things, we can see as best as possible to improve on certain things and make sure that we don't succumb to the same situation. Because just because, okay, your father had diabetes or cancer, yeah, the possibility is there for you too. But first of all, now there's enough studies. You have to make sure that you and your doctor monitor your health on a regular basis, so that even terrible as the word cancer is, if it's detected at very early age, it can be controlled. Controlled to the point that it never resurfaces. So even with other diseases, diabetes, monitor it, slow the onset. So to understand the extent to which individual characteristics and experience influence health throughout lifespan. Individual characteristics. You have developmental factors. Future experiences. Those experiences that you experienced when you were in vitro. Were you getting the right type of nourishment? Or were you getting the wrong nourishment? Were you introduced to a cigarette while you were in your mom's belly? What sort of food was she eating? Was it good for you to develop your organs properly? Mental development. Were you exposed to alcohol? Because those also can lead to fetal, those are issues wherein you have the alcohol syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome. Your age and constitutional factors. Then you have social factors, such as gender. Most of the time, there is the women have challenges when it comes to seeking medical attention or appropriate medical attention, and also depending on the nature of their society. How are women treated? Do they have equal rights? Do they have rights over their reproductive rights? Then you have the psychological factors, such as your personality. There are various theories that are, coming up with certain descriptions to say kids who experience a lot of who experience certain chemicals within their body when they were within their developmental stages in their mother's womb, most of the time have behavior issues when they are stressed. The stress factors create a lot of problem also for the developing child. And that can lead to a certain personality traits that can be either positive or very negative. Now, those which are born with, those which we are born with, so those which we have little or no control over in terms of gender. Note the complex relationship between the individual and their environment as explored by ecological perspective. Influence of fetal development. When the child is in vitro, what is the environment in which that fetus is growing under? Is it a healthy pregnancy? Does the mother eat well, healthy food? Does she stay away from drugs? Does she smoke? Is she always stressed out? Does she go for frequent medical checkup? These are all conditions that can prevent some of these possible problems down the road. The embryonic period. Embryonic, very early stages of pregnancy. Most of the time, the first 3 months of pregnancy, very, very important that there are health promoting practices or behaviors by the pregnant mother. Because anything less than that can lead to some problem down the road. Because the organs have to develop properly. When the organs don't develop properly, that's what leads to problems. The brain, the heart, the lungs, the kidney, the sexual organs, a host of things have to develop properly. And at times, again, depending on where the mother is, because there have been certain chemicals that where mothers have been exposed to certain chemicals that can lead to some birth defect. These are all things that needs to be checked for. Because even though science has done a lot of good, science has also produced a lot of things that if we don't watch out can lead to our demise. The disruption of normal development at this stage can have lasting effects on health. That first 3 months is very, very important. The first trimester, everything has to work well. For example, the spina bifida, where the neural tube does not develop properly, your spina bifida, when certain people have this spina bifida, when it doesn't develop properly, that can lead to some other problems. Your spinal cord, because the spinal cord controls a lot of organs in our body. When that is deformed or not developed properly, can result in paralysis or cognitive impairment. In teratology, teratology is the study of birth defects and problems arising in pregnancy from environmental influence. More or less the impact of the environment. Where does the pregnant mother live? Is it a place with a lot of toxin? A lot of things that really contributes to the poor development of the child. Examples of tetratogens include alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, over-the-counter medication, as well as illegal drugs, exposure to mother's ill environment, environmental pathogen, pollutions. So these are all factors that can lead to somebody born with certain defects, certain problems that occurred during pregnancy. Any of this might impact on the fetal development and subsequent health experiences. So now that they gave some examples, and I think I've been talking about them: alcohol, cigarette, drugs, over-the-counter, or just illegal drugs, marijuana, and you name them, exposed us best to mother's illness and other environmental pathogens, pollution. Some areas you have other carcinogens as well. Say, for instance, mothers who lived in places pregnant and the water they drink is polluted with heavy metal, like lead. Some time ago, There was a scandal in Flint, Michigan about the poor drinking water that people have. And it was so clear that problem existed in minority neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods mainly. So these are some of the challenges as we really try to develop, continue to develop a nation of fairness, of social justice. We have to create that healthy environment for the mother from day one. And here I could even want to add convenience stores, convenience stores that only provide more salt, goods with more salt, more sugar, and more fat. These are all things that do not help the fetus to grow properly. You have mothers being too overweight. That also impacts the quality of health of the developing embryo, the fetus. And some of these things can be, the problems can live for a lifelong, through their lives. The fetal programming. Fetal programming purports that the origin of some diseases experienced in adulthood are connected to adverse influence in the early developmental stages of life, particularly life before birth. See, some of those developmental stages when the child is in vitro, that would have given the child those possibilities to fight against some of these diseases, were not provided. Instead, we're taken over by some of these disease factors. So they might grow up to a point, look kind of healthy, this, but down the road, they develop some of those things. So I go back to, I think, preconception is something that people have, mothers have to take into consideration. Have a checklist. What are some of the things that you need to do? Work with your doctor. See what behaviors you are engaging that will predispose the features in your child or predisposed the embryo to bad health conditions down the road. Because first of all, having a child is expensive in this country. But having a child who is not healthy is much more expensive. So at times, we have to take that sacrifice. If we want to have kids, we do those things that needs to be done so that those kids are properly taken care of in vitro. So that when they come out okay. We fight that war when they are out. But we start losing the war when they are in vitro. sometimes referred to as this idea of the issues that people develop, or the health-related issues that children develop, are referred to as the Baker hypothesis. The hypothesis suggests that the fetus make physiological adjustments in vitro in response to environmental circumstances, which prepare it for life after birth and beyond. And by making some of those physiological adjustments, create problems, because those physiological adjustments were just what they need when they are born, and how to navigate life, deal with life issues. Some examples: size at birth is related to experience of disease and poorer long-term health outcomes in later life. I say most of the times, size, anything, say 5.5 pounds, anything below that has to be monitored. And at times it also gets to a point wherein the baby gets too big, being obese at childbirth. That's also a problem. But some of those things can be taken care of if the mother has a frequent medical checkup, because usually the weight of the mother is evaluated and see how the child is developing and what sort of adjustment that needs to be done. Many lines of evidence, including epidemiological data and data from extensive clinical and experimental studies, indicate that early life events play a powerful role in influencing later susceptibility to certain chronic conditions or chronic diseases. Early life events, extremely important in determining how certain chronic conditions, these are not lifestyle related, these are chronic conditions, those diseases that emerge within the body. So it's extremely important that some of these are taken into consideration. Another example is smoking during pregnancy, which not only influence weight at birth, but can also increase the likelihood of miscarriage. And the development of childhood asthma. Simple. Lungs need to be clear. At very early age, those lungs, in vitro, those lungs have been started to be polluted. Those alveoli starting to be messed up, that can lead to miscarriage. In some cases, when that's the child will, the infant or the embryo will just want to be out. So to see that, I don't know whether it's that the right terminology, but there is going to be a miscarriage. So smoking is just too much. It's too much for the child and can lead to weight issues and also can lead to childhood asthma. And you know how many kids are born with asthma today. Then you have the alcohol syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome, the FAS. Is a developmental disorder that can occur after heavy drinking, after heavy alcohol use by a pregnant woman. As I said, during even 3 months, if you want to really be really a good mother, 3 months before pregnancy, stop drinking heavy. Once in a while, it's okay, slight, a glass. But when you go 1, 2, 3, that then what you take in is just being absorbed into the blood system of the child. So fetal alcohol syndrome can cause a range of problems, including growth, pre and postnatal, abnormal facial features, mental disability, and behavioral problems. Let me go through this one more time. For those young women or those women who are thinking of being pregnant, they should think of what they are doing. They could be contributing to. Can cause a range of problems, including growth before and after birth, abnormal facial features, mental disability, and behavioral problems. You have mental disability and behavioral problems right away. You set that child to have problems to fail because society is not as patient with people with mental issues or behavior problems. So this is good. You think about it 2 or 3 times, especially when you become pregnant. What drink do you want to be having? More water or more alcohol? There are a number of complex social factors involved in heavy alcohol use during pregnancy and a range of maternal risk factors associated with fetal alcohol syndrome, including socioeconomic status. Most of the time, people self-medicate, faced with social and economic challenges, find way to numb the pain. And most of the time, where some of those people exist in low class environment, wherein you have more stores carrying alcohol than health-related stores. Family and friends with alcohol problems, as well as psychological factors. So most of the time, again, behaviors, we inherit some of these issues. What does, because again, all those people that are around, say the family, should be involved in making sure that the pregnant woman is given a healthy environment. Family members who drink excessively or bring alcohol, again, find ways to make sure that she does not take part in the party, in the drinking. To control what she takes. She might be mad at you, but that child that is developing in her will thank you down the road. The adverse effect of fetal alcohol syndrome can last into young adulthood and beyond. And research has shown that the relationship between the length of time that alcohol is consumed during pregnancy and the neurocognitive development carries on beyond significant into early teenage. So again, don't do it. Influence of age. Here we're dealing with the age of the individual. We're talking about the individual characteristics, the age of the individual. How does one's age influence their health? Health is influenced in different ways at different points during our journey through life. Health is influenced in different ways at different points during our journey through life. Influenced by the home. Influenced by our friends, the neighborhood, peer influence. Now, do we have the skills to say no? And at times also, how do parents say, don't do this? I don't want you to drink. I don't want you to smoke. I don't want you to have sex. I don't want you, blah, blah, all the don't want. But they smoke, they drink, they set poor examples. So child is now caught up within what are they saying to what are they doing. So because most of the time it's good with kids, you teach them more by what you are doing than what you are saying. because the saying peace, they hear that from almost everywhere. It's the doing peace that is not seen everywhere. You want that age, the age of your child in your house, not to have a drinking problem. Don't glorify the use of alcohol in the home. Don't make it sexy. At times, having a cabinet of all the whatever drinks in the world, and you say, don't drink, don't go there. Guess what? When you are away, they will try. Don't tempt them because saying all this is great, but you will not succeed. Say, oh, I don't want you to smoke, but you send the kids to go buy cigarettes. You send this, oh, bring me the cigarettes in the from that next room, and they see you smoke. Again, this becomes a challenge. Our health needs and health goals change throughout our lives and are intricately linked to our age. This is also influenced by maturational factors, such as development of organic systems, physical structures, and our motor capabilities. Life stages, preconception to birth is from 0 to 4 years. It's infancy. You have preconception, that is in vitro. When you're born, from 0 to 4 is infancy. Childhood is including pre-puberty, which is from 5 to 9. But again, depending on certain ethnic groups, some of these studies have shown that some kids experience certain form of puberty at much earlier age today. They grow faster, and some have different reasons. Why? So puberty and adolescence from 10 to 18. Let's say, for instance, in this country, when you are 18, you are considered almost, I don't want to say an adult, but there are certain responsibilities that you have to be responsible for. Early adulthood is from 19 to 25. Middle adulthood is from 26 to 50. And late adulthood is from 50 to 70 years and onwards. Then you deal with the death and dying process. You have the influence of some biological factors or stages. Whether we are born biologically male or female has an influence on our health. I said that at the start of the class. This influence begins before birth. For example, male fetuses are more prone to miscarriage than female fetuses. And again, that's biology, you know. Male pregnancies are much more likely not to be carried term than female. Biochemical factors, hormonal factors are also important in terms of differences between the biological sexes. In women, certain hormones provide a protective factor for some disease. For example, levels of estrogen are influential in the development of cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis. So the estrogen for women, that helps protect women from developing cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis. And that's why in most cases, women have a better outcome as they develop. They can have health-wise when they through the period before they stop experiencing their menstruums, their menstrual cycle. But when they get to after the menstrual cycle, usually there's a little amount of estrogen available and exposes women to cardiovascular diseases and all these other diseases. But before then, they have a real cushion for these two diseases. Reproductive health experience differ according to biological sex. Biologically determined differences in the origin of certain diseases and illnesses are also physiologically based. For example, to do with the specific male and female reproductive system. Influence of gender. Lifestyle factors differ according to gendered roles. Here they didn't say gender, they say gendered roles and responsibilities. Because most of the time society has given certain roles. These roles are for women, this is for men. And most of the time, those are not necessarily the roles the individuals would like to really take part in. But just because it has been gendered, it has been said, if you are a male, the culture, the society expects you to do X, Y, Z. If you are a female, our culture expects you to do X, Z, Y, whatever. So some of those expectations at times are not realistic and can lead to health-related issues that can lead to poor health outcomes. Socially constructed ideas around feminine and masculine heterogeneity can impact on health throughout life. An example is help-seeking behavior, which differ according to constructions of masculinity and femininity. Research show that women are more likely than men to seek help and advice when experiencing symptoms of ill health. How many times have we heard that from our mothers advising our uncle, our dad, and this that to go to the hospital, and uncles or dad says, "Oh no, I'm fine." Only down the road to find out that no, you're not fine. You're slowly dying. See again, these are social construct that the I don't want to say the modern man, or you guys don't have to fall for some of those stereotypes. When you are not feeling right, you go seek help. Don't wait long, especially for diseases like cancer or whatever disease. Because the longer you allow the disease to really mess up your body, the tougher it is for you to get back from it. So don't buy that nonsense. Oh man, things can just no. If you start feeling something 1 week and you're still feeling the same, trust me, the next week you should take yourself to the hospital so that you can be checked up. Don't wait until your mother or your boyfriend or your girlfriend starts saying, "Hey, dude, you need to go to the doctor." You need to just say, "Okay, can you take me to the doctor, or can you join me?" But you have to spare that head. These are help-seeking behaviors that can help you maintain your health. We talk of the influence of heredity and genetic factors. Illness and disease, particularly in later life, are due largely to the interaction of genetic and environmental factors from very early childhood. This is extremely important. Illness and disease, particularly in later life, are due largely to the interaction of genetic and environmental factors from very early childhood. Genetic has a part to play. Genetic endowment refers to our biological destiny. Heredity, and it can be extremely influential in the development of health throughout. See, our biological destiny can be extremely, very, very important throughout. You have some people who everything being normal, they are as healthy as they can be up to 60, and after 60, they start going down. And you can have some people who can live beyond 60 and are still going. Most of the time is their genetic makeup. There are many examples of diseases which have a genetic component and which may have a predisposition to developing as we age due to our genetic heritage or inheritance. Our genetic inheritance is very important. That's why you need to know certain things what are certain things that are common in the family. What did this person suffer from? What uncle suffered from this? What did the grandpa suffer from? What did mom and grandma? What did dad? Such examples include degenerative diseases such as dementia, certain cancers such as breast and bowel cancer. In addition, there are also certain hereditary diseases carried on sex chromosomes, such as hemophilia and color blindness. For example, cholesterol level, in part, determined by genetic factors. However, lifestyle and environmental factors also have a part to play. So take time to read the chapter up to this point so that you can really start to see certain things that maybe you might need to work on. Just be proactive. You don't wait when the house is about to fall to fix it. You start fixing it when you start seeing things going wrong.